night, everybody. It is November 14th. This is the Town of Rhinebeck's regular town board meeting. Would everybody please join me in saying the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve our prior minutes of October 24, 2022? Thank you, Alan. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chauncey. Is there any discussion, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. I'm going to make announcements first, then I'll go to we have a public hearing continued from May 9th, 2022, June 13th, June 27th, September 12th, local law 1 of 2022 entitled a local law amending the town code chapter 125 zoning and the matter of revising section 125-47 of our solar energy systems to add regulations specifically permitting and regulating community solar as a new solar use in the town of Rhinebeck. Our public hearing is open. I'll come back to comments. I'd like to make announcements first. All dogs who live or are harbored in the town of Rhinebeck must be licensed with the town clerk. Our transfer station will be closed on Thanksgiving, which is next Thursday, but it will be open on the Friday after Thanksgiving. Beginning November 15th through April 1st, I want to remind everybody that parking is prohibited on all town of Rhinebeck roads between midnight and 8 a.m. Anyone violating this ordinance is subject to a fine. Let's keep the roads clean so the highway department can keep them snow-free for us. We have a myriad of volunteer opportunities here. We are dying for volunteers to help us in the work we do in the town. We have vacancies, will have vacancies next year on boards and committees. We need at least one member for the Board of Assessment Review. We need 2 cemetery committee members. We need several members for our Conservation Advisory Board, Ethics Board, Historic and Archaeological Preservation Advisory Committee, which is known as HPAC. We need Planning Board members, Recreation Advisory Committee, Workforce Housing Committee, and we need someone for the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have vacancies on all of our statutory boards, except for the town board. So please volunteer if you have some time and want to help your town and local government. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has given us a notice of compliance application for the Red Wing Property, Inc. for mining proposal on White Schoolhouse Road. Details are on the town website, and the town is an interested party in the DEC permitting process. We have scheduled a town board special meeting for November 29th, 2022. It's a Tuesday at 6 p.m. It will be a workshop for us to bring the public up to date again about what's going on with workforce housing. We expect that we will be reviewing again why we're doing this, what our law says, what the history of it is, what the hospital's involvement is, and a brief presentation on what the proposed project is. We want to clarify the history and the proposed future project there. I don't anticipate taking comments because we do not have a local law, but we may be taking questions. It will be for information. That's November 29th on Tuesday, November 29th, 6 p.m. here. Anybody else have anything?
I don't.
Any public comments from the public on our proposed solar law?
Comments or questions?
Comments. It's a public hearing. You have to have read the local law.
I have read the local law. It's right in front, it's in the agenda, I've read it.
Okay.
Are there any sites in plan? Are there any sites planned? Well, I'll ask you this question. At the rec center, whatever they call it, whatever you call it, there are, I think, 28 lights ringing the tennis courts and basketball court, that whole area, about, I guess, 1,000 watts each. And for the entirety of your 9 years as administrator, those lights have run constantly when there's nobody there, whether there's anybody.
This is, we're taking comments on a local law for solar law.
Right. Why there's no...
Let me make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Why don't you and I discuss it after the meeting, because I looked into this a couple of years ago, and there's a story behind it.
I think we should
That's
discuss
okay?
it
Yeah, that's
publicly
fine.
because it's a quirk with
Oh, I
Central
looked in,
Hudson.
okay, fair enough.
We can wait. Let's come back to this because this is a public hearing for a local law. This
Sorry.
does not have to do with lights at the field that haven't been turned off under my administration. That's an issue with Central Hudson, and we can talk about it under new
I
business.
brought it up because the most useful idea of climate change is conservation. And we're, and...
Anil,
that's why.
this is a public comment on a local law.
Right. Look, we're not so informed on protocol as you are. We come here in good faith.
That's why
to
I'm
try to
telling you,
learn.
we're taking comments on a local
Got it.
law. There's new business. If you want to talk about something else in new business, we'll be happy to.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Alan, did you have something for this?
Well, okay, I actually got some new news after I spoke to you. I have from Carson Power, which is the company doing a solar project in Red Hook that spills into Rhinebeck, a map that they did that shows where all the high-capacity transmission lines are in the town, where all the lots are in the town that could be used for a large enough solar array to be practical for community solar, which is to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 acres or more. And what he did on the map is he used setbacks on a bunch of the properties in the town and showed where there was enough space to do community solar. There are a couple of other considerations, and I have the maps here if you're interested to have a copy. The couple of considerations. One of them is the transformer, the Rhinebeck substation that's right on Route 9, has a capacity of roughly 40 megawatts, of which about half of it's already used.
I'm sorry, the substation by the old Eveready
Yeah,
has a capacity of,
about 40 megawatts. And about 25 is already used. So in a sense, that limits what you could do in the town with a solar array. So you're talking probably no more than 15,
But how many megawatts is a 20-acre lot?
10.
is that the only place we can feed into? Or is that
Well,
the
that's where all
convenient
the
place.
high-capacity wires go. And yes, that's the only place you can feed into.
I thought that according to Central Hudson's maps, there were several junctures where there were three-phase power feed-ins.
Yes, and the map has all of them on it. But they all go to the substation.
So you're saying that the size of the substation limits our
Well,
solar
that's
capacity?
one limit. The other limit is the three-phase power lines limit you to about 10 or 11 megawatts. So if you have something bigger than 10 or 11 megawatts, or any size at all really, you have to maybe get two different feeds. The third problem is, the problem with the current solar zoning law relative to the maps I have is that the solar law today limits solar array to roughly 1 megawatt, which is not big enough to be practical for community solar. You really need 5 or more. And the second thing is, a lot of the lots that are identified on this map are agricultural, and there are some restrictions in our zoning law for using agricultural lots for solar, which we have to, so that in order to enable us to do what's on these maps, we'd have to change the solar law so that the size restriction is eliminated. the number of square feet of the array, and the limitation of non-agricultural, basically.
A 5-acre array is approximately 5 megawatts?
No, 1 megawatt.
1 megawatt.
4 or 5 is 1 megawatt. When you put all the setbacks in, of course, the lot has to be bigger. So the maps I have, which I'll...
25 acres is 15, 5 acres is...
No,
25, you could do about 10.
There's only 20,
But then the math's off, that's 5, 25 divided by 5 is...
Well, yeah, but you
Ish.
need setbacks, and there's all this...
to me, the biggest problem is having agricultural land taken over by solar arrays.
Well, except you can have some agriculture coexist, number one. Number two is, the way the law is written today, whoever puts in the array has got to have a plan to take it out in 20 years. So this is not like it's going to be there in 150 years for people to look at and say, look at this ancient thing.
Well,
You know,
what kind of recommendation have you come to in terms of size limitation?
I think we're talking probably practical size is about 10 megawatts is probably as far as we could go, given all the other constraints.
So
And
you would support a 25-acre solar field array in
That's
Rhinebeck?
50.
Yeah, well,
That's 50
they're
acres.
planning, you wouldn't be able, the law basically says you can't
25
see
is
it.
10.
Ish. Sorry, cut you off, go ahead.
The law basically has setback requirements from the property line and road. Also has obscuration requirements, so you won't see it, and height restrictions. So, you know, I think the fact is, on the lots that he identified on the map, the thing would practically be invisible. And, you know, we're not doing that much agriculture in the town as it is. So I'd be in favor of doing something. You should look at the maps, we'll talk some more. I'll get some more details. As some of you know, I've been out of commission for the last month or so.
I mean, here's the other issue, is that these large arrays can only be in certain areas close to the...
That's right. Well, if you look at the map,
You know, why don't you can pass them out, but we should get this, Joan, on the website and have it, noticed at a meeting so the public...
okay,
can
that's a
see
good
it.
idea. I'll tell you what, I'll have to do a few little cosmetic things to this. I'll give it to Joan and put it on the website. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but this is a map of the town. The blue areas are...
Can you see it?
Sorry.
We can pass them out.
Yeah,
Scott, you
I got
had a
bunch of
question?
copies.
I'm just, is agricultural defined by current existing use or by zoning?
Zoning.
Zoning, okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's, the current proposed solar law basically says you can't do solar on certain agricultural zones.
But that's a zoned area that is zoned
That's right.
It's also
agricultural.
authorized by the county, right?
Well, not the county, it would be ag and markets. Would be, is it
Yeah,
a
it's the
zoning, is it
state.
an ag
It's
exemption?
the
or-
state, yeah.
So the other portion to this law, Scott, is that we'd have to make a zoning usage to allow land zoned as agriculture, whether on our own zoning district or through ag and markets, to be able to have solar.
Yeah, that's exactly the snag.
That's the only other,
Yeah,
I was talking to Warren today, and we couldn't, it's been going on so long, I couldn't remember what the other piece of
yeah,
this
that's
was.
what the other.
Right. Well, again, we have 20 megawatt capacity unused at the substation on Route 9.
Yeah, I would say more conservatively, maybe 15.
Okay, so that's 25 to 50 acres.
Yeah,
And then we have 3 other, if I remember correctly, 3-phase tie-ins in the town?
no, more than that. There's, let me just look at the map. Three or 4 or 5, it depends on where you're talking, but all the ones that we identified are all along Route 9 and/or
308,
308. And that's where the lines are.
yeah.
So yeah, 3. North on 9, south on 9, east on, northeast on
308.
308.
Yeah, okay, just one more time. 20 megawatts of capacity left on the substation, exclusive of the three-phase tie-ins or inclusive?
No, that's
extra?
the absolute limit is 40, and they've already used 20 plus.
Okay, so you're saying we can't have more than 20 megawatts of community solar
That's
Best
correct,
case scenario.
in the whole town?
in the whole town.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, but the three-phase connection is simply, if you put it here, there needs to be a three-phase connection here to bring it to that substation.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it gets from the array to the substation.
But that's the cost. Because
Right.
the feed-in is,
But there are, you just said, existing three-phase
Yeah,
points that maybe,
yeah, there's actually fourth branch that goes from the substation to Rhinecliff. So that's a fourth possibility, but they didn't use it. There isn't a suitable place to put it, shall we say.
so there's about 50 acres of development in the whole town that could happen to fill up the capacity.
Yeah,
All right, well, that's a good thing to know.
this is just, I just got back into this in the last couple of days, so I'll have more data next time. And we'll put it on the website so I have it.
Okay, Kristen, Scott, do you have any other questions or?
I guess I'm still not 100% sure on this agricultural thing. I mean, agriculture is a use, and then there's zoning, and there's a chart here. If agriculture is allowed in a particular zoning area, does that mean that area can't be used even though there's a lot of other potential
We
uses?
would rewrite the law to correct that. We
Oh,
would
okay.
allow it to be on agricultural land.
Okay.
But at
That's
the moment,
the-
it's not allowed.
At the moment, it's not allowed. This new zoning amendment would deal with size, capacity, and use.
some of those.
So we would have to revise the law to allow it to be on agricultural land. But this is a much clearer picture for me. I don't know about you
Right.
guys. Thank you, Alan.
Yes, thanks. It's helpful.
But ultimately, it's larger scale things to support community solar,
It's
which is
maybe
not
two or
supported in the current
Right,
legislation.
yeah, the
So
current
maybe-
legislation.
So we could have 3 fields of maybe 10 acres each, 15 acres each, and get to full capacity,
Right.
or 4 smaller ones.
Yeah,
and-
well, the problem is that if we have, every time a new house is built, or every time we do affordable housing, or every time we open up, they use some of that 40
Capacity.
megawatts. So, Central Hudson,
Is there any plans for them to expand it?
well, the town's, no,
Okay.
it's,
Might be a good use for the already diner site.
if the diner comes back.
Private property, we could,
Alan, is there a plan to project future use of need for electricity? I mean,
I'm sure Central Hudson has something, but
well, I mean, if you look at businesses like ours, 5 years from now, we could have a tremendous amount of electric chargers on our sites, sucking up a tremendous
Yeah.
amount of power.
And we're looking at that now as we go
Yeah,
forward.
exactly.
What is it going to take for us
Yeah.
to be able to be
I mean,
able
those
to
things,
support that?
try to remember what those high performance chargers.
400 amps.
Huh?
To do it fast, it's like
Well,
Fast charge.
yeah, but 400 amps is,
208, 400 amps.
it's what, 4 kilowatts?
Hold on.
not my department.
I'm
Yeah.
not even getting involved in this
Oh,
conversation.
yeah.
No, 40 kilowatts. So, yeah, so it's, that, megawatt.
And I think that there's going to be, as we get into the electrification of vehicles more, there's going to be,
Sure.
people are going to be putting them in, and there's going to be more of these DC fast chargers
Yeah,
having
but
to
that-
come to the
Yeah,
area.
but interesting is that there's a limited capacity at the substation.
Right.
So we need to get, Victor or we need to talk about
Right.
expanding
Expanding
capacity as the need grows.
Well, the other thing is if somebody puts solar on their roof, it takes away from the need for power coming from the substation.
Not if they want to feed back into the grid for net metering,
Yeah, but whatever they were, yeah, okay, sure.
right?
Yeah. You know,
Handled mess we.
Well, this is important and this is good. It's a clear picture. So what Alan has done is really looked at how many acres we need for community solar and what kind of capacity ceiling we have. It's a snapshot in time now, but like you guys say, we're going to need to know in the future what would use be like and how could we supply it. And,
so I'm an electrical engineer by training. I know Ohm's law, My opinion is that in 20 years, this won't even be a conversation, that we will have come up with technology that doesn't require a lot of the stuff we're building today.
how would
We
you know?
leapfrog over them so we don't have to spend all this
How
money?
would you know?
How would I know? Well, I
I'm
read,
kidding.
I'll say, he has 3 degrees from MIT.
MIT, yeah. Okay, yeah,
He couldn't say it,
Yeah.
honestly.
yeah.
yeah, but it's in computer science.
You shouldn't have said that, I didn't know that.
There's no disclosure around the patents, right? That's what it is.
I have a bunch of those too.
I mean, here's the thing, climate change is real, it's here. We need more solar. How do we balance that with the way our town looks and how it affects our town? 50 acres of developed solar
Yeah.
array doesn't seem like a lot to me. Does it seem like a lot to anyone here? Split up in
No.
4 or 5 areas, 3 areas? Is that something we're willing to do to help offset
The-
fossil fuel use?
Yeah, the only problem with doing 4 of them is that each one of them has to have controls and a connection.
This is all abstract anyway because we don't own the land. It's privately owned
That's right.
land. So do we need to know if anyone wants to do this? Or
Yes.
how do we,
Well, this guy Andrew Gordon from
near a faith,
Carson Power is interested, they want to do something.
where? Do they own land?
No, they were going to come to us. He said that if we enabled something reasonable, they would probably come to us in the spring with a proposal. And there are a couple other people that are also interested.
Neil, any questions?
Well, I would, is there any measure or data on how efficient a solar array would be in Rhinebeck, meaning weather related and latitude related?
Yeah, they're like 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
If they're fixed arrays based on what's going on, I think it's 30 to 40%.
So it meaning say it would be worth putting one in? That's not.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, they are worth, what I was told was the minimum viable financial size of an array. There is such a thing, which is what your question is, and it's somewhere in the 5 to 10 megawatt range.
Is that what you were asking?
Well, also whether it would be worth devoting the land resource to solar power.
Do we want to
generation.
reduce our reliance on fossil fuel?
And that's why I brought up
Yeah.
conservation
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, well, yeah. Right.
You know, ultimately, it's going to boil down to somebody's going to walk in here with a proposal, and they will have worked out the finances. They will have worked out, the cash flow and all the rest of it. We can't do that for them.
yeah, but how are we going to feel about driving down 308 or Route 9 and seeing
Just take a ride up Route 7 in Vermont, which used to be beautiful, and look at all of their arrays and now clutter that countryside.
So this is Columbia County.
So you know what, in my opinion, the ugliest thing on our roads are telephone poles. So it's too late to fix that.
No, but if this is a real thing, are people going to accept, I mean, forget about Vermont, Scott, it's just 20 miles up the road.
Yeah, right along Route 9.
Yeah.
And that's not a big one.
Okay.
Okay, well, that
To
was,
be continued, right?
thank you. Are we closing this public hearing? Are we holding it open? We've been holding it open forever. I know it's easier for Joan.
If you're going to amend the law, then you do need to hold it open or close it and start back at the
Start from
beginning.
scratch, yeah.
Oh, I know that. I was just, what do you want, what do we want to do?
I prefer to
Bump
keep
it
it
out
open
until
because
March?
We should keep it open, because once this stuff is up and running.
Yeah, once we
it's
get
digested.
this working, we can,
When do you want to keep it open until our next, how about March 13th? Is that crazy?
no?
Do we even have a meeting then, Joan? That's the second Monday in March.
I don't have the rework schedule in
And
front of me.
if something comes up before then, we can
I think we do.
do work, we can get it accelerated.
Do you want to bump this back to February instead of March? You want to do February 13th?
Sure.
Let's hold it open until February 13th, June. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. Tab 2, Resolution 2022-235, live edge plow blades for the Rhinebeck Highway Department. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Josh and Alan. Any questions or comments? Does everybody know what these fabulous things are that our highway superintendent has sourced and is buying?
I sent you a whole page.
I know. You want to explain or you want me to?
I can explain.
Come on up.
By the way, this is the highway.
Thanks, guys.
superintendent.
How's everybody doing? Bob Lyon, Town Rhinebeck Highway Superintendent. I want to switch over to a couple live edge plow blades for our big plow trucks. Okay, with a live edge plow, let me explain what a plow blade is first. It's a 5-inch thick steel, 6 inches wide, 11 feet long. It's got 13 holes in it. It bolts to the bottom of the snow plow, takes all the wear and tear on the road and such. Okay, the new concept is, well, it's been out for about 3 or 4 years now, is live edge, okay? What this is it's 12 individual segments over an 11-foot area that are mounted in rubber, and each one can move independently of each other, so it takes more snow off the road. When you have the old style plow blade, it's just a flat steel that goes across and there's no give to it. Okay, and what happens, a lot of roads have crowns in them for the water to run off, and the plow blade will wear in the center. So when you get on a flat road, you're gonna leave half an inch of snow that the plow can't hit anyway. These live edge plow blades eliminate that, okay? They're supposed to last like 6 times longer than a regular snow plow blade. They do have carbide edges in them, and that makes them last longer, but they don't do damage to the roads, since there's give and take in the plow blade. They're a little expensive to start with, but they save money over a 5 or 6 year period. I've talked to other townships about them that have used them. One is Walkill. He said he tried out 2 of them. They're switching all their trucks over to them now because they like them, they work so well. So we're going to start with 2. I'm going to research on them and keep tabs on how the roads are looking. It's supposed to save money on salt. You won't need as much salt. There'll be less snow on the roads. So
Sounds great.
Win-win-win.
I want to try them and try them out.
And you can
Thanks.
swap the individual ones out as opposed to throw out.
Yes, if one does get damaged, you can take that individual piece out and just replace that. You don't need to replace the whole blade. So, okay, any questions? Okay.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. We're going live edge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with our salt brine, we should be,
We're right on
Bob's
the-
winning awards all over the state for his conservation and environmental treatment of the roads. He's pioneered brining roads, and it's saving salt running off into our water system. He's speaking at forums and councils. He's becoming known
symposium.
sorry? We're proud of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
very-
you for your support.
Well, it's a good partnership, and you're doing a fantastic job. Okay. Resolution 2022-236, approving our Hudsonia letter of agreement to update the biodiversity assessment. I'll make a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Josh. I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, Hudsonia did not a natural resource inventory, they did a biodiversity map. It was part of the comp plan, and it could be updated now, 15 years later? So we talked to Eric Kiviat at Hudsonia, and he has given us a price to update the map, and it will be done by Hudsonia next year. So we'll be able to see where we were in 2009, 2010, and where we are now, and have updated data. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. 2022-237, approving certain payments in advance of audit claims. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Chauncey. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alan. Are there any questions or comments?
What is this?
Basically, this allows me to sign off on monthly bills to get paid before we incur late charges,
Got it.
like telephone and what else, Joan?
Yeah, it's specifically utilities, oil, fuel oil,
Postage.
We have to do it every year? Does this come up every year?
No,
We're updating all our policies.
Joan is on fire with updating our policies. This is a recommended policy so
I
that
just
we're not
couldn't, yeah.
incurring late fees.
I just couldn't remember from top.
That's okay. Does it make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Yes, it does.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. May I have a motion for Resolution 2022-238, upgrading our Microsoft Office 365?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Any comments or concerns? Basically, we got to pay the piper.
Microsoft did it to us again.
Yeah, we need Microsoft. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. I need a motion for 2022-239, approving our recreation program, winter, spring volleyball.
Motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Josh. Thanks, Alan. Any discussion, comments? Still don't know what we're doing with winter. Josh and I had a nice meeting with Albert Cousins from the school, and we'll see what the sort of demand is for indoor winter activities and COVID, but this is for some spring, winter, spring stuff. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Oh, it's another Bob one. 2022-240, approving the highway department to solicit for their 2023 material bids. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thanks, Chauncey. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Josh. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. I'll make a motion for 2022-241, our preliminary accounts payable abstracts. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Chauncey. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? Any second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. 2022-242, I will make a motion, and I need to amend this to include a second check in the amount of $610,759.75, which is the first 50% payment for our field turf minus the retainage. This just arrived today. Rather than hold it up for 2 weeks since the field is almost finished and it's been signed off on by our clerk of the works. I wanted to get it on today to get paid. So I'm amending this capital projects abstract to include not only the $9,000 for,
Skate park.
thank you, for the skate park design charrette, but for the $610,759,075 for the first 50% payment of the field minus retainage.
Do you need a motion to amend?
I made a motion and amended it. May I have a second on the motion with an amendment? Josh seconds it. Any questions or comments? Joan, I have this information for you.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. I just didn't want them to wait on the check. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, I know there's at least one piece of new business, Anil. Lights at the park.
Oh, you want to explain?
Yes, I know the situation that you're talking about. I got a call soon after I came onto the board, which was in 2017, so this is information's
Thank you.
that old, and I don't remember all the details, but if we need for me to get any, I can do that. It was exactly what you said. The call was from somebody who lives here. Do you know that lights are on late at night, year-round, down at the park? What a waste of power and money. I said, I didn't know that. I'm going to look into it. The short answer is that the purpose of keeping the lights on is to cut down on things like vandalism, young people going down to the park at night, engaging in behavior we don't approve of, and so forth. And it's, of course, a safety matter as well. I don't remember where I got all that information from, but that was the information. And the answer was, oh, well, okay, this has been thought through, and it's intentional, it's not accidental, and nobody's being careless. And that's the story. That's as much as I remember from almost 5 years ago.
The other thing, just to remind you, we've changed all of our lights to very low energy using LEDs that we own.
Even on the, ringing the courts and the basketball court? I didn't
No, the
think so.
project you're referring to was the streets and roads.
Streetlights.
Right.
This is,
Where we are, does anybody know where we are on
I mean, all those lights belong to Central Hudson, yes?
Right.
It's a lighting district, it's a central lighting district.
No, we pay them an annual,
and we should replace them with
yeah, we
LEDs.
should replace them.
They
You might
were,
want to talk to Bob. Right?
No, I did talk to
this-
Bob, and
What-
he said that, yeah, it's a service contract with Central Hudson. I didn't know if you need more than that, but that's what he said.
I see.
Yeah, we don't pay for the energy, we pay for the poles, the lights.
We
and
don't
the-
pay for the energy.
Well, I mean, it's included in the total. It's not, it isn't like, if we turned them off, we wouldn't pay anything more, or less, rather.
Well, I would answer, then I would just,
Let me go back again to 2017,
yeah.
which is when I began the project to change the street and road lights to LED lights. These kinds of conversations occurred, and I don't remember the details, but I will follow up, check it out, and if we let something drop through a crack, we'll take care of it. But there may be answers to some of the obvious questions, like the lights at the park, and what about the lights on the, I think there are lights on the pool house. And
Yeah, there are lights. You mean on the trail?
The back
trail
house,
The
the
trail
back.
pavilion. The trail,
Well, I was thinking of the house
right.
where you go to change into your swimsuit. You go to
you know, I
swim.
mean, aside from when you first came on, this came up when I first came on, and I think there's something contractual that Alan's right. We can't turn them off, it doesn't, something. So we'll look into it and come back.
Yeah, I'll pursue it. Thank you.
No, sure, but I would like to just bring up one part that's not exactly related, but it is that in my experience there, which is considerable,
Impossible.
the biggest use is
Can
just
we
the
have one-
people just going for the place, for the site, to walk, and not least at night. There are often people on benches and just walking at night. And just the tenor of it, to play tennis at night is a wonderful thing, and some people do. But it's lit like a prison. And what you said about vandalism and so forth, the great treasure that we have is we have a community where there are still some bonds of trust. And to light a site with just waist highlighting of low lighting, when you can be out in this place and you are safe, that's immensely valuable.
Are you advocating for more light or less light?
I would advocate for most efficient light and less, and the minimum possible. So to serve what people's needs are, and.
So maybe it's time for a lighting redesign down at the
Yeah,
tennis
because-
courts.
Yeah, just to
Well, I
say.
think first an assessment. I wasn't around, and maybe most of us weren't, when those lights were,
No, sure.
when it was designed and installed, so maybe,
So maybe like,
wanna-
maybe a lighting design for the courts and for safety to get to certain places.
Yeah,
It's time to look at it.
yeah. And it would be cheaper as well, more likely, just like pathway.
It wouldn't pollute the night sky.
Exactly.
It would be there for a specific purpose.
And plus timers are really cheap. You could even, make
Hold on.
have a residency card, some verification to use the timers to play at night.
any idea who we might talk to about a review and analysis and a redesign if we decided?
Lighting consultants, they're very exciting people.
Oh, very, what?
Lighting consultants are very exciting people.
Exciting or
Almost
excited?
exciting, almost as exciting as acousticians. I'm sure there's municipal lighting designers.
I'm sure they're,
They're right up there with accountants and.
Our engineer
lawyers.
was, okay, hold on. So it's, what's the I remember there's some contractual issue with turning them off, but I think it is
well, as far as
time.
turning them off is concerned, as I recall it, they are on timers. And the timers are adjusted as the hours of daylight change through the course of the year. And they're kept on later than you would think makes sense, except for the things that I mentioned: vandalism, safety, misbehavior. But
You
it
know,
sounds as though,
With the field going in and the lighting need to going on there, to your point,
it sounds like there's a sense of the meeting and some of the public that we should
Take a look.
look into this, see what we got, why we got it, how it should be changed, and
and
so
how it
forth.
could be changed and what it could look
Yeah,
like.
we should do that. And in the course of that, of course, presumably if we make changes, it's LED lighting, it's less expensive and more efficient, and
Yeah,
all
it's-
those things.
Anil's right, it's a very 1950s design, these
Yeah.
huge poles with a flaring
Well, the other thing we could do is put in
prism
some,
lighting,
put in
which
some
is never,
cameras.
never
sorry,
We
attractive.
could put in a few cameras to solve the security problem.
Well, that's
Can we
a
help
good.
you?
Oh, sorry.
Court? Cross the street, village. Sure.
Go west, young man.
Okay, to be pursued.
All right, thank you. Any other new business items, discussion, public comment on non-agenda items, questions, concerns, ideas?
I would just close with just the previous conversation, just one thing, and that is that the character of the town, of safety and community, is the most important thing, and everything we do has to build to that. That was one reason I was making such complaints about the trailhouse pavilion. But
That's ancient, that we can't.
that's it, I get that. But to take the lessons from it, and that's because the whole world is,
Look, I mean, we could have had we could have had a food truck there with some composting toilets. It could have been different, but going forward, I hear you.
a place where people could get together and see all their kids on all the various fields. That would be ideal. The one thing that the way I described it in the letter, that would be the place and the design.
I don't think we're going to build another one in
No,
our
I get
lifetime.
that, I
though,
get
yeah.
that, that's sure.
No, but I mean, Eleanor is constantly saying it. We have a park here. We're in the early stages of development.
Right.
We can make it pretty. We can make it.
Right. And that's the other thing as well, is that I think the biggest use of that place is kids, it's just changing. The biggest use of that place is just people at the end of the day coming to do
Walking.
And that's a great use, that's precious.
All right, I would like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss employment. Hold on. I guess it's history and compensation of a particular person.
Okay.
Same thing can be.
Thanks.
Good job, though.
You're my executive session expert.
Gatekeeper.
I don't think we'll come back to take any